Am I the asshole for telling my partner he would be a bad parent for going on holiday? I'm 26 female, currently 38 weeks pregnant. My 26 male partner has just sprung an idea a couple of hours ago on me. He started by telling me how he wants to take a solo holiday somewhere, to which I have no issue. He would want to go for a week or two. Again, isn't an issue. And if he needs a solo holiday, then I'm supportive. Until he said he wanted to go in about 2 weeks. That is exactly my due date. I asked if he was kidding and said that isn't something he should do. He looked stone-faced and unmoving, followed by a simple quote, "But why shouldn't I be able to go?" I responded by saying he wouldn't be a good partner or father if he disappeared on holiday, leaving me and baby literally just as they were born. His response was, quote, "Well, you haven't been a good partner in the past either, have you?" Context, mid last year, we had broken up for a small amount of time. The relationship had its issues that had been communicated and improved greatly since then, for the most part. I calmly asked him how he would feel if I handed the baby over to him after birth and went on holiday for 2 weeks. Would that be fair on him? His response was simply, "Crack off." Then the conversation died. Am I the asshole?
No. No. That's some audacity.
I'm having your child, like this is our kid, but half yours, your kid. I'm having your kid, not Tom down the street.
Yeah.
Your kid.
Yeah.
And you're going to leave on a 2-week holiday when I'm supposed to give birth?
That's a scary preview into life with this person as a partner and a father. Because again, speaking from a non-parent, never given birth, never been a parent, but I would imagine that giving birth and the arrival of your baby is one of the most memorable days of your life. And the fact that he's like perfectly okay with possibly missing it because if the due date doesn't line up, he could be gone, one. And then two, those like first few days are, again, kind of speculating here, but I would imagine are so important to bond.
Yes.
They're exciting. Like when you bring home a new puppy, you want to spend every waking minute with it. Like this is your baby and you're perfectly okay just leaving during its first few days on this earth. That is a bad father. In my opinion, that is a bad father.
Yeah, I would agree. I think like, especially saying like you're being a bad partner and dad by leaving.
Yeah.
This isn't like the baby's 6 months old and he's going to a friend's wedding, like a similar story we've had. This is go time.
Yeah.
This is when your partner needs you most. And I think you said it so well where it's like you want to spend time with your baby. Like this is key bonding time.
Yeah.
And I think there's like a misconception where it's only important for moms to bond with their baby right away. Like the mom is breastfeeding or, you know, feeding the baby and things like that. And it's like, no, it's just as important for the dad to do kangaroo care too. It's skin to skin, essentially. It's just as important no matter what gender you are, no matter what role you are in that partnership, birth giver versus non-birth giver. Like it is just as important. And so you're gonna like, what? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I'm curious to hear from like dads who have been in the delivery room or been there for the birth. And like, if you ask them, would you be heartbroken if you missed this? I feel like an overwhelming amount of them would be like, I wouldn't have missed this for the world.
Yeah.
Am I the asshole for buying myself expensive clothes when my family struggles to make ends meet? I, 18 female, have recently started my first full-time job. I still live at home and pay $300 fortnightly for rent. I also pay for all my other necessities, my phone bill, and hygiene products. My family has been very poor my whole life as my mom, 44 female, is a single mom studying full-time and looking after 5 children. I have a slight shopping addiction as a lot of girls my age do, and at least once a week some sort of package or food order is showing up at our doorstep. Today, a new pair of jeans around $150 showed up. Am I the asshole for buying myself expensive clothes when my family struggles to make ends meet? Today, a new pair of jeans around $150 arrived. I was in desperate need for a new pair as I've outgrown my old ones. Well, my mom blew up at me and called me selfish, insensitive, and that she's ashamed I'm her daughter. She told me I should think about how it makes her feel when I buy an excessive amount of clothes when she can barely afford to heat the house. So, am I wrong for not offering to pay more rent and for also spending money, my hard-earned money, on things I want? Also, I'm not trying to flaunt my money, I'm just not home when the packages come.
Found out my boyfriend has a freaking wife. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. I repeat, this is not my story time. I'm sending it on Instagram. I met my boyfriend at the gym. Yeah, I know. Terrible idea. You can say it was lust at first sight. From the moment we saw each other at the gym, we couldn't take our eyes off each other. He came straight up to me at the gym and told me that he really liked me. But I was super shy. He was just some random guy I was meeting at the gym. But he was all about me. He asked me for my number and I said no. He asked me for my Instagram and I said no. For the next 2 weeks, he would come into the gym at exactly the same time I did. I would basically go work out whenever I had my lunch break. So of course, he would show up then. Of course, slowly but surely, he would charm me. He would even bring me lunch. After about 2 weeks, I finally gave him my phone number. That's when he asked me to go have breakfast, which I thought was weird. Should have been the first red flag, right? This was his excuse. He said he worked nights, but that his schedule would change all the time. So this meant that he would sometimes work during the day or at night. It was just random. So we went to breakfast. Here's the second red flag. He asked me if we could have breakfast 40 minutes away from where we lived. We both lived near the gym. Of course, I thought this was strange, but I said sure. He picked me up and the whole time at breakfast, he kept looking at his phone. Part 2 is up. I just found out my boyfriend has a freaking wife. Disclaimer, is not my story time. I was sending me on Instagram. For our first date, we went to have breakfast 40 minutes away from where we both lived. Again, this was another red flag I ignored. During the breakfast, he was on his phone the entire time, and I called him out on it. I asked him why he invited me to breakfast if he was going to be on his phone all day. That's when he made up this whole sob story about how hard his work life was, how he was always stuck to his phone answering emails and text messages from his boss. And of course I believed it. I mean, I didn't know this guy from anything. After that, he put his phone down, and I realized he was the most amazing man I had ever met. A man that can make me laugh is really important to me. And we laughed the entire time. We were telling each other jokes. We talked about family and values. We talked about our favorite foods, countries we wanted to go to, places we had been to. It was the perfect date. We even loved the same type of music, and our favorite movie was the same. So as you can imagine, I completely fell head over heels for this man. But the red flags continued. A week after our first date, he asked me to be his girlfriend. Did I say yes? Of course I did. But this was just another red flag. He began love bombing me and always wanted to be with me. But he never invited me over to his place. Part 3 is up. I just found out my boyfriend has a freaking wife. Disclaimer, is not my story time. I sent him on Instagram. Every time I'd ask to go over to his place, he would say no. First off, he told me that he had a terrible roommate, that his roommate was noisy and really dirty and the apartment stank. So for that reason, he didn't want me to come over. And of course I said, yeah, that's fine. Here's the fourth red flag that I ignored. He would ask to come over to my apartment at odd hours. Sometimes he wanted to come over at 3 in the morning. Sometimes he wanted to come over super early. And other times he wanted to come over really late. Because I have a 9-to-5 job, I kept saying no. I needed to get my beauty sleep, please. But even if I said no, he would still come over. Here's the fifth red flag. He would come over to my apartment and instantly fall asleep on the couch. I was always asking him why he was so tired. He would just say that it was too much work. Well, we've been dating now for 2 months. A few days ago, I started getting suspicious of his situation. So I showed up to his apartment, but he didn't live there. It was an office building. I asked him to come over and I confronted him. That's when he confessed that he is married and that he's been married for 10 years. But he says that his wife is a nightmare and that he wants to divorce her. What should I do?
I fake an accent at my job.
Oh, that doesn't sound right.
My heart is pounding writing this because I literally haven't told anyone this. So I work at this one store and I work on the sales floor, but before all that, I was just one person interviewing for a position at the store. Before I arrived for my interview, a friend of mine dared me to interview in a British accent.
Is this Ross Geller from Friends?
Literally. I said I'd only do it if they paid me, and to my surprise, they sent me like $10 through Venmo, which was more than enough for me. I went into the interview with the mindset that I wasn't going to get hired, and they inevitably hired me on the spot. Accent and all. I was nervous because I had already talked to a whole bunch of higher-ups with the accent and decided to just go through with it, thinking it was only going to be a summer job. I was so wrong.
Now this person runs the company.
Yeah. It's been like 7 months.
Oh, God.
That I've been working there, and I still use the accent to this day. When people ask me where I'm from, I just tell them my hometown because I have several Brits in my family from that town who I grew up with. The accent hasn't really posed a problem until now because my boyfriend is distant friends with one of my coworkers, so I'm going to have to find the right time to come clean. What do I do?
Well, being the avoidant person that I am, I would quit, but I don't think that's what you should do. Would you come clean, Eilish?
I think I would. I mean, to be honest, I would never do the accent in the first place.
Yes.
$10 is not enough to keep up a British accent for the duration of my employment with a company.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have done it either. Exactly, not for $10. And also, it's like, that's why my advice would be maybe to quit. If the job in the first place didn't mean that much to you, surely you can just quit, start again with your own accent.
Storytime about how my stepdad made my mom choose between him and my brothers. So a little background information, I was 13 years old and in 7th grade, and I had 2 older brothers, Josh and Alex, who were twins, and they were both 4 years older than me. Whenever I was 3, my dad left my mom for his dentist, and we never saw him again because he decided to start a whole new family with them. Now, because of that, my older brothers always felt like they had a specific role in my family, especially because the guys that my mom brought home, they would only last a week. Well, finally, my mom met this guy who's really nice, and she decided that she was going to get married to him, but he despised my older brothers. Mainly because before he moved in with us, my mom would not depend on him for anything. Anything that needed taken care of around the house, my brothers would do it. And we didn't have too much money while this guy was loaded. Like the one time my mom and this guy, who we're gonna call Jerry, got into a fight, like for part 2.